So today we're going to talk about marketing automation and how marketers can use marketing automation to deliver the right message to the right customer at the right time. My name is Danny Essner. I'm the head of merchant marketing for Magento. I've been with Magento for the last 3.5 years, and this is my fourth Imagine, and I'm already looking forward to the fifth Imagine. Very excited. And I've been working with marketing automation for about 6 or 7 years now, and really excited about how marketing automation has been maturing and really getting involved in the e-commerce space, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. I'm joined today by Steve Susina, Director of Marketing for Alliance Consulting Group, a Magento Gold Solution Partner. Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. As Danny said, I'm Steve Susina with Alliance Consulting Group. We're an e-commerce digital agency. We work with companies to help them realize their e-commerce potential. But my interest in marketing automation started before I arrived at Lions. I've got a background that includes publishing. I worked for a magazine company where I used marketing automation to help drive marketing achievements, and before that with an IT consulting firm. In the interest of full disclosure, like Danny, I'm a customer of Magento, which is one of the leading marketing automation providers, but the comments that are going to follow are generic enough and general enough that they apply to whichever platform that you might be using or might be considering. So don't take my any comments that might slip out on Magento as a recommendation of them over others. I'm really trying to evangelize the concept of marketing automation, and the talk that Danny and I have will help explain a little bit about what that brings to the table.
Great, thanks, Steve. So our talk is divided into 5 parts today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the marketing landscape that merchants find themselves in, what's happening, and how they need to evolve, and how marketing automation can help enable that transformation. We're going to provide a little bit of an overview of what marketing automation is, how it works, and how it can help marketers. We're also going to provide a landscape overview of some of the players who are providing marketing automation technology today. As Steve mentioned, we're going to be talking about specific vendors, but we're not making any recommendations about specific vendors, recommending one over the other. We're just sort of providing an overview of who's in the space. In full disclosure, Steve's company, Lions, Magento, all use the Magento platform. We're not necessarily recommending that one. We're going to talk about some use cases for marketing automation, how it fits into e-commerce. We're going to talk about how Magento and marketing automation systems can work together and provide an implementation path for moving forward. So let's jump right in and talk about what's going on in the marketing landscape today. So Steve and I see a lot of marketers focused on what we call the moment of purchase. So we're focused on customers who are ready to buy, and we treat all of our customers on our website as if they're ready to buy right now. So all of the marketing is very transactional focused. Our website promotions are very transactional focused. Our email marketing is very offer driven, very product centric. We're all treating customers if they're ready to buy now. And our email marketing is very similar. So we all have email modals on our site or interstitials on our site. They pop up as soon as you hit the homepage. And I think this is a good thing. I really like this type of email capture. But what happens is that as marketers, what we're doing is we're taking this email sign up and we're treating these customers as transactional customers. So we're marketing to them right away as if they're ready to buy. But if you think about it, when a customer hits your homepage, they may be far from being ready to buy. They may be just starting their journey. And so treating them as sort of a homogeneous blob and marketing to them all in a transactional way isn't necessarily the most effective thing. So a few problems with what transactional marketing is. Again, it treats all customers as if they're ready to buy right now, and some customers may indeed be ready to buy, but there are other groups of customers as well. There's a set of customers that may be good fit for your product or a good fit for your business. They're going to buy, but they're not going to buy right now. They need to learn more about your product. They need to evaluate their options, do some research, and so transactional marketing doesn't address that audience segment. Transactional marketing sort of treats customers homogeneously. Everyone's transactional. Everyone's ready to buy now, but we know that those customers are not it's not the case. They're not all the same. And finally, transactional marketing leads to what we call a blast mentality of marketing. It's very offer-driven. We're pushing out discounts. We're pushing out promotions. We're talking about products. We're not talking to customers in a conversational, educational way. What's the problem with blast marketing? Well, all marketers are doing blast marketing because everyone wants to reach customers who are transactional. We all want to find people who are ready to buy. But there are problems with that. It's very expensive. Blast marketing usually requires going out to channels that are expensive to acquire customers. Paid search, display, retargeting, affiliate marketing, these are expensive transactional marketing channels. And they're expensive because there are lots of marketers trying to reach customers through those channels. So the more marketers that are in those channels trying to reach, the more pricey they become, right? It's the bidding model in paid search. The more demand there is, the more the price of the supply goes up. And for the customers, it's very noisy, right? Recent research said that customers are exposed to more than 3,000 messages on any given day. And out of those 3,000 messages, only 54 of them will be remembered by the customer, and of those 54, really only 4 will really resonate with the customers. So these channels are expensive, they're noisy, and most of all, customers really just don't want to be blasted. They want to be engaged, they want to be spoken to, they don't want to be bombarded with endless messaging. So to get away from transactional marketing, and just to be clear, I'm not saying that transactional marketing is a bad thing. It's great for that segment of customers who are ready to buy, but to address other segments of customers, we need to look at the full buyer's journey. Every customer goes through a buyer's journey. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow or longer or shorter, depending on the product, depending on the customer's expertise. But they all go through these different stages of identifying a problem, generating awareness for the different possibilities of solutions, deciding among different options, and then ultimately making a purchase. The journey actually continues on to repurchase and loyalty, and there's lots of opportunities for marketing and engagement post-purchase. But if we look at the buyer's journey and say, okay, we have customers who are ready to buy and we can market to them, and that's one set, and that's great, but there's this larger set of customers who are not yet ready to buy. They're earlier in their buying stage, and we think about talking to them. There's a huge opportunity available to us as marketers. The first great thing is that if we address customers earlier on in their process, while they're maybe doing research or discovery, we can acquire them through lower cost to acquisition channels. So rather than paid search, affiliate marketing, we can look at social media or inbound marketing or SEO. And these are lower cost channels, but we can engage those customers with offers through those channels because they're not yet ready to buy. We need to engage them with educational information, buyer's guides, something that will help them get through that buyer's journey, get to the point where they are ready to purchase.
And that's one of the interesting things, and there's 2 really interesting pieces of research that support what Danny's been talking about. The first, and multiple firms have come out, whether it's Serious Decisions, which tends to focus more on B2B, or Forrester, which focuses on B2C, there's a tremendous amount of reception and understanding that consumers are starting to spend more and more of their time researching their purchases before they buy. The internet has made it easy for them to do that. So frankly, if it's a large purchase, we've understood that for a long period of time. If you're buying a car, you go online, you get the invoice price, you probably know the features and functionality better than the salesperson when you walk into the dealer. Other large purchases have generated that same type of research, but 40 to 70% of that buyer's journey, regardless of how it's defined by the particular consulting firm, 40% of that process is taking place before the first interaction with that particular vendor. B2B firms have generally accepted this and taken it to heart. But there's been some more recent research on the next slide, which shows that consumers are even applying that same researching mentality to smaller and smaller and shorter consideration purchases. So we know that cars, we know that appliances have generated consumer research before they're willing to engage with a particular vendor. But we're finding now that the research says that items like baby care and pharmaceuticals, non-prescription pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, those are the types of products that consumers are now spending more and more time researching before they decide what they're going to look for, what they're going to purchase, and who they're going to buy from. Now, when we can take that research into consideration with this long cycle of the buyer's journey, it becomes more important than ever for us to start to engage with those potential consumers earlier in that cycle, to know who they are, to understand what their buying patterns are, so we can start to present the right offers at the right time to those audiences.
Yeah, I think that's right, Steve. And I think the car example is perfect. When you walk into a car dealership, you start looking at the car salesman doesn't start talking to you about pricing, rebates, incentives. He first starts talking about the features of the car, gets you interested in the car, and once the sales rep sees that you're interested in the car and that you might potentially buy, that's when he starts pushing information to you around pricing, starts talking to you about financing. So he moves from that educational part of the conversation while you're early in your journey to the transactional part of the conversation when you're closer to being ready to purchase. So we have this buyer's journey, except that it's not as linear as I first showed you. Customers are using the internet, they're moving around. This is a diagram by Forrester Research, which shows that customers are sort of moving back and forth through their journey in this sort of convoluted way. So this is challenging for us as marketers because we can't market to customers in this linear way. We need to be able to know where they are in their journey and know that that journey stage may change. They may move forward or back. They may switch to another product and start a new journey. So how do we know where customers are in their journey so that we can market to them based on where they are in their stage? And so the answer is buyer behavior. So the beautiful thing about digital commerce is that we can track what our customers are doing, and we can look at what behaviors they're taking on our site, how they're interacting with our website, how they're engaging through our email, and use that to measure where they are in the buyer's journey. So we can look at things like what web pages they're visiting, how they're getting to our site, what keywords they're using to get to our site, what keywords they're using on search on our site, what products they're purchasing or not purchasing. We can look at levels of inactivity. And these activities or inactivities indicate to us as marketers where our customers are in the buying stage. And what marketing automation can do, and what the magic here is that marketing automation can then trigger emails or trigger campaigns automatically when customers take an action or go through a long period of inaction. So Marketing Sherpa conducted some research last year, and they asked marketers what are the top ways that they think they can increase email engagement from among their customers. And top answer on the board, almost 40% of marketers said by adding automatically triggered emails to their campaigns, they could increase their engagement. So this concept of not just sending out emails on a batch or blast or schedule basis, but actually sending out emails automatically when a customer takes an action or a customer displays certain behavior is a hugely effective way of increasing that message. And marketing automation is the tool that lets you deliver that right message to the right customer at the right time based on that behavior. So this is a very basic example of a merchant who is using marketing automation, and they've segmented their customers based on 3 types of behaviors: customers who've never purchased, customers who've purchased once, and customers who have displayed multiple purchases, so loyalty. And what they're doing is they're building out separate streams of communications that are tailored to the customers based on whether or not they're in one of those 3 segments. Now, this concept's not new. A lot of marketers in this room and here at the conference are doing segmentation where they're delivering different messages to customers. What's really special about marketing automation is that the marketing automation platforms can dynamically move the customers among these different streams of communications as soon as the customer takes an action. So a customer who is in the one-time purchase stream suddenly makes a second purchase or a third purchase, the automation system recognizes that activity and dynamically moves them over to the third category of being a repeat customer so that the next time they're scheduled to get an email, they get the email from the third stream and not the second stream. So Marketo did some research on the impact of triggered emails and its impact on email performance. And you can see the lists here on the right. So huge impacts on open rates, click to open rates, and click-through rates when you're using triggered emails over time-based emails or scheduled emails. Hugely valuable. So to wrap up what we just talked about, as marketers, if we want to engage customers more effectively, we got to go beyond transactional marketing. We got to move from transactional marketing to also educational marketing so we can address those customers who are earlier in the buying stage, move them through the process to get them to the point where they're ready to purchase, and use that time to build a relationship so when they are ready to purchase, they'll want to purchase with us because we have that relationship. We need to move away from homogeneous email blasting to context-sensitive marketing where we know who our customer is, we know where they are in that buyer's journey. And to do that, we got to build on the demographic segmentation that we're already using and add in behavioral targeting so that we can build a profile based on the customer's demographic fit and the behaviors they're taking so we're delivering the right messages to them. This means evolving from blast marketing, scheduled campaigns, emails, weekly, daily, whatever our cadence may be, to conversations that are based on behaviors, and moving away from scheduled emails to triggered emails based on behavior. So let's talk about marketing automation, how marketing automation enables us to do this, and some of the vendors that are in the space.
Yeah, so we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts on marketing automation, how it works and how it functions. And I'll start with the perspective. There's always a trade-off, because I can talk about it from a very functional, here's what the software does from a functions, features, capabilities perspective. And I can also talk about it from an outcome perspective. What type of interactions and engagements it's going to help us drive with our potential customers, our current customers, and those we're already doing business with. But I'll start out with our fundamental needs to engage with customers, and as merchants and as marketers, we have a host of tools available for us to do that, to engage with customers, to get our messages out, to form a relationship with them online, even before they hit that purchase button. And one of the ways we can do that is through the websites that we're building, the websites that are designed to bring in through search engine optimization and paid search to drive conversion rates, to bring those customers in and bring them as part of our family. We're collecting information on customers, that database of name and order numbers and what they've purchased in the past and all of their history of what they've done, shipping addresses, what segments they fit in. A lot of information. The whole concept of big data has been brought up over and over again, and the companies that understand how to use that and leverage that data will be the ones that transform the industry. And then, of course, email marketing. Nothing new for us. We already send out messages, and as Danny talked about, it tends to be in that batch promotional and more transactional basis, but it's certainly a tool that we have available that we can leverage. And the one thing that we start to realize that we can use to drive that engagement and to engage with our customers better is this concept called digital body language. Now, this was published in a book from a gentleman called Steve Woods. Steve was the chief technical officer at a company called Eloqua, which is a marketing automation services provider. He's since left, now in a startup. But the concept of digital body language is that you can get a great idea of what types of customers are purchasing from you and which ones are about to become great customers of yours simply by watching the different types of engagements that those people have with your marketing messages. Things like the search traffic, the open rate, the web page visits, which pages on your site they're visiting, which forms they're filling out, how they're engaging on social media. That's a tremendous amount of data. And while we're starting to just scratch the surface of what we can do with the information we're already collecting on our website, now let's layer on all the information that we can gather from what people are doing with our email communications and what people are doing on social media, and understanding when they click on certain things, that has an indication into that user's behavior. And it starts to bring us, and I'm reminded of the Sally Field "You Really Like Me" speech that she gave at the Oscars a few years ago, and I'm unfortunately old enough to remember that firsthand, but the concept here is that we want to have that same type of relationship that Sally Field had with the voters in the Academy that gave her that award, that we can come in and start to understand, and we can do this already with demographic information and the segmentation we do. We know that if we're local, certain postal codes are where our customers are at. And we've got psychographic and lifestyle information data that we can layer on top. We can segment our audience based on gender and age and education. We spend lots of money on lists to get us lists of these type of customers that we're trying to get to. If we're in the B2B space, we might do it on job level or the category of the vendor that we're trying to sell to. We can also take people out of our database through undesirable characteristics. Do they work for a competitor? Are they in the wrong industry? Do they have the job title that's not typically a decision maker? Yeah. But the thing that we haven't had in any great concept is the ability to understand if that customer really likes us just as much. Because the people that are going to buy from us, the people that we're going to have the best relationships with, are those that we want to do business with and that want to do business with us just as much, if not more. Yeah. And some of the behaviors that we'll start to be able to gather to determine that level of engagement and determine that level of how much they like us is, do they visit our webpage? Do they visit our webpage multiple times, more than once? Which pages on our site have they visited? Is it purely informational, or are they looking at specific products in specific categories? Have they put items in the shopping cart? Have they opened or clicked certain links in relevant emails that we've sent out? Have they registered for information? So all of this data that we have simply by looking at what people are doing on the website and putting it into a database where we can start to draw some inferences from it and apply our predictive analytics and understand which are the customers' actions, what are they doing just before they become great customers of ours. We can also, just like in that B2B example, find some undesirable customers as well, people who just come to our page to visit the Career Center. We might have a different path to get those people to convert from visitors to customers. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, and this is a difficult concept to get through, but I'll try and make it easy to understand. But marketing automation, in a fundamental sense, makes it easy to deliver the right offers via the right environment to the right customers using the tools available within the software suites themselves. It provides that database and analytics that gives you the ability to manage customer data, marketing content, and sales engagement. If you have a sales force, a dedicated sales force, certainly larger and considered purchases generally have a salesperson involved in the process. And all of that is tied together to help identify specific sales prospects early in that buying cycle, set up automated engagement with them so that you can start to form that day-to-day ongoing email and online relationship and drive them and help nudge them into the proper mode where they're ready to place that order with you as opposed to your competitors. And you want to turn those people that are visiting your website, that are engaging, and turn them into paying customers. Now, there's tools that are available to do that, but the difference that marketing automation provides is that it will provide that on an individualized basis. So instead of an email service provider, and I'll point out here that this is not to say that marketing automation is better than email service providers. They work in conjunction with one another, but the advantages that you get with the marketing automation in addition to your email capabilities are that ability to drive down to an individual user's individual behavior and customize the response that you'll take with that individual based on their individual behavior. And I'll take the example of my previous position in that magazine publishing company. We used an email service provider to deliver our newsletters, but we also used it in conjunction with marketing automation, which helped us identify who we were going to target to subscribe to different newsletters. So these are used hand in hand. And I won't go through all the details on the feature list here, but the things that marketing automation brings to the table is a level of detail and a level of data on an individual customer basis, and the ability then to tailor messages to that person based on what we learn about them over time. If we scan the marketplace, some of the names that you might have been familiar with or have heard in this space include HubSpot, and Eloqua, and Marketo, and Silverpop. I'll point out that the relevance in the e-commerce space is that these companies are starting to become part of the marketing suite in the large integrated organizations. So Oracle has recently bought Eloqua, and IBM in the last 2 weeks made the announcement that they're going to buy Silverpop. And they're not buying these just to have a portfolio of companies. They're looking to integrate this functionality into their vertical suite of services for those larger organizations. So as Magento users, we know we need to start to look at the same capability and apply it to our customers. Now, this isn't a new marketplace either. The first marketing automation firm, Unica, came out over 20 years ago. But what we're finding is that that wave of consolidation is taking place, and larger organizations are building it into their functions and driving more and more engagement into integrated suites. Marketo and others that are still independent are taking a broader perspective that says that perhaps we should look at the ability to integrate with multiple companies. But regardless of which vendor you're looking at or starting to consider, realize that the market is starting to push toward this increase in using marketing automation in different capabilities. Now, the basic functionalities when you engage with customers give you the ability to do lead capture and customer identification, nurture those customers over time, and provide a numerical value, a scoring of how much we like them and how much they like us. Gives you the design tools so you can create on-the-fly campaign designs, email marketing programs, registration forms, and landing pages, and the programming behind that to integrate all that together. Now, when I explain this to people, and I try and simplify it, because this is a lot of complicated stuff, and it takes a while to understand the full breadth of marketing automation in terms of what it does from a technical perspective, I try and bring up an example that most people can relate to. And one of my favorite TV shows was a show called The Deadliest Catch, where you had people going out scooping up as many crab as they can in these big pots, and trying to identify those large customer databases. So I look at the marketing automation application as the example of applied to the deadliest catch. We're out there, we're trying to scoop up as many customers as we can at the front, and then we're going to go back and we're going to apply our lead scoring to go out and filter out those that we really want to do business with, and those who are good fits to customers, and those that aren't. And those that aren't, we're going to put back in the ocean, just like these crab fishermen did, and we're going to look to get them to grow, and maybe we'll get them next year, because they'll be bigger, they'll be a better fit with the target market for us. So think about it this way: we're going to scoop in as many as we can with our lead generation capabilities, and then we're going to sort based on lead scoring.
That's right, Steve. And so if you think about lead scoring, the goal here is really to identify the 3 segments that I talked about earlier. Customers who are ready to buy right now, customers who are a good fit for your business based on that demographic and behavioral scoring that we talked about, but aren't yet ready to buy right away, and then those customers who are probably never going to buy. So to do that, we need to gather all this information so we can apply this scoring and figure out who is who among all these customers interacting with our marketing communications and our website. And so behavior tracking is easy, that's done on demand. But to build the demographic profile, we need to get information from the customer. And we don't want to bombard the customer all the way in the beginning of the process by asking them for a ton of information. Imagine having an email modal where you didn't just ask for email information, but you asked for gender, birthday, clothing sizes. You think of all the information that you would want to have about a customer to be able to do true scoring and demographic segmentation. So marketing automation has the concept that we call progressive profiling. And this is the idea that each time you have an interaction with the customer, you can ask them for a new piece of information without having to ask previously collected information. And the automation systems are smart enough to know what information you've already gathered on the customer, and so that when they next interact with you, they know the next question to ask. So 2 customers may see the same newsletter subscription form. And if the marketing automation system already has an email address from one customer, they're not going to ask for email address again. They're going to ask for other information, maybe birthday or gender or something else that's relevant. And the second customer hasn't signed up at all. They don't have even haven't supplied an email address. So that same form is going to ask that customer for an email address. So it allows us to build the information, the demographic profile of the customer over time without re-asking for the same information. And this allows us to do our lead scoring. So we now build our profile of customers over time. We're gathering that demographic information. We're monitoring behavior over time. And we're putting those 2 pieces of information to bucket the customers into our 3 buckets. Ready to buy now, good fit for us but not yet ready. We got to nurture these people. We got to educate them. We got to move them through their buyer's journey. And there are those customers that are not a lead. They're not going to buy from us. And we're just going to keep them off on the side, maybe even expunge them from the database. And this segment's important too, because this is identifying the segment allows us to not have to waste expensive dollars talking to these people, giving out promotions that may be unprofitable for us to maintain over time. Really knows who our target customer is, who our ideal customer is, and who isn't.
And the benefits of applying this methodology to your database, to your email marketing, are demonstrated by some real-life results in terms of different types of programs. And this is an example, again, from that magazine publisher. We did a new customer acquisition program. And when we used early-stage messages, non-targeted to a broad database, we had a 14% open rate and only a 1.1% click-through rate. We had low performance. Now, we don't have to go into details on what low performance of email campaigns means for deliverability. It certainly is wasteful from the perspective that we're blasting out a ton of messages in that early stage and not having that strong response rate. What we find is as we can apply concepts of lead scoring and triggered and tailored messages to those specific audiences, we have a tremendously better response rate to the campaigns we're sending out. So instead of sending one message blasted to a mass audience, we can send a targeted or a tailored message to a very targeted and tailored audience. And we see our open rates soar and our engagement rate with that particular email soar. That deeper engagement can be 2 to 10 times higher than the broad messages that we're sending out. And this is just one example. This is something that we see over and over again. The more tailored the message is, the better the response rates are, the better the open rates, and ultimately the better the conversion rates.
Great. So let's talk about some use cases now.
Yeah, the use cases, and this is the interesting part on how companies are using marketing automation today to help drive new business. And I'll use another example from that publishing firm that I was at. And the example here is that marketing automation is a great way to bring in and introduce your whole capabilities to new customers by providing a welcome series, a welcome campaign of emails to new customers. Yeah, and the first message might be something that's just a basic welcome and introduction to the capabilities that your product or service has, maybe some phone numbers, maybe some additional information on the company. And certainly the call to action there might be add us to your us to your accepted email list so we can continue to communicate with you online, because existing customers tend to be our best future customers as well. We can follow that up with triggered messages based on additional content for that individual. So in this case, it was an additional informational video, but if you had say a cooking product, maybe your follow-up message is after they've acknowledged the receipt that they're a customer of yours now, you might give them some informational videos on how to use that product and engage their use of it to get them to turn into not just a buyer of your product, but a raving fan. The third message could be something that suggests a sell for a complementary product, something that might drive additional revenue. In our publishing world, the example that we always used was a great way to engage customers. Simply send a letter offering the email address and the letter to the editor request. Hey, send us a note. Let us know how we're doing, what you like, if you have any comments on our stories. So new customer series is a great way to engage with customers.
Great, Steve. Another example that I want to talk about is personalized emails and landing pages. So this is a flow that comes from some work that Magento has done with a boutique fashion brand in New York that has a big bridal business. And so what they do is they, like most of us, have an email interstitial, an email modal on their homepage. They're capturing email addresses. And what they then do is that when they see a customer browsing their site and clicking over into their dedicated bridal category, that triggers right away an email campaign all about bridal. So the first email in the campaign is around how to use the bridal section of the website. A second email provides some style overviews of the different gowns and the different categories of gowns that the designer makes. And eventually they're driving through emails, and these emails are coming pretty quickly, within a couple of days of each other, driving the user to book an appointment with a wedding gown consultant, either online or in one of their few retail locations. At the same time, all of these emails are driving to a personalized landing page. So on the landing page, they have some form fields where they're asking the customer to give them some information around where their wedding is, what the location is, what the wedding date is, and based on that information, they're personalizing the page. They're creating a curated experience of the products that they're offering. So the recommended gowns will be based on the season of the wedding. Winter gowns might be different than summer. A destination wedding might have a different set of recommendations versus a more traditional wedding. And again, the landing page with this progressive profiling form, creating a personalized experience, is again driving the customer to book an appointment either online or in store. So the marketing automation system is really helping this merchant create a personalized experience in the email and on the website that's triggered based on action initiated by the customer.
Yeah, another example is, oops, we've lost our slides.
Sorry.
Yeah, another great example is being able to trigger a re-engagement based on non-activity. This is an example that was recently posted by a friend of mine, DJ Waldo, and he's an email marketer. He has been in this business promoting things for a long time. And he said he had this example. They recently moved, but had been a regular customer of Pinkberry, the online frozen yogurt. Obviously, this isn't something you'd buy online, but the idea here is triggering your customers that used to be regular buyers that all of a sudden have disappeared. In this case, he moved. He was no longer in the area. But the example would be send a message out, in this case a free cup of yogurt because the person had been a regular customer and stopped buying. But then have in mind a triggered set of follow-up responses based on the behavior to this particular email message. Now, if they click on the message and never come, maybe you follow up with a message from the corporation trying to ask if there's a question or something that they've done wrong that have turned them off of that particular product or service. If they do click on it and take it to the store, maybe you follow up with another message offering another offer the next week so that they get back in the habit of coming on a routine basis. The background here, though, isn't necessarily a specific campaign here. It's the flexibility that you have and the use of marketing automation to think through, we have a behavior that we want to address, somebody who used to be our customer that stopped visiting us. There might be a number of different reasons. We're going to send them a series of messages with a series of offers that we're going to use their behavior to determine what the next step should be. Did they re-engage with us? Great, let's add them back to our frequent customer list and send them offers. Did they look at our message and turn us down? Let's ask a customer service question. Why did they do that? Why did they look at us, consider it, and then delete the message without taking further action? There's a whole host of these follow-up steps that we can craft, and we can do that in advance without knowing what that person's going to be, and then that whole process is automated. In fact, we can get to the point of sending them a thank you text immediately after cashing in that particular offer. If this particular customer took advantage of this free offer, they could have a text message on their phone by the time they get back in their car saying thank you for rejoining the family and buying from us again. So there's quick ways you can take advantage that trigger right off of the capabilities.
Great. And I love this example because it doesn't just show triggering off activity, but actually triggering off inactivity. So behavior can be action or inaction, which is hugely important. The next example is something that's probably familiar to many of you as merchants. It's the abandoned cart example, where we're triggering off customer leaving a product in the cart and not completing the checkout purchase. And many of you may be doing this today. There's some native functionality in Magento that enables this. A lot of the email marketing providers provide this. But why I like this example and think it's important is because if we look at what ProFlowers is doing here, they're not just sending a generic, sorry, we think you forgot something, come back and complete your purchase. But they're actually personalizing the experience based on the product left in the cart. And so the automation system is tightly integrated with the commerce platform to know what product was left in the cart and put that product information in the email. And in fact, the offer in the complete your checkout email is tied to the product. It's not a generic, here's 10% for completing your offer. So really tight integration between the automation system and the commerce platform to know what to use the power of personalization in the email to really make that email as effective and as relevant as possible to drive to conversion.
And then the last use case is an example of long cycle lead nurturing. Now we think of products, services where there's a long lag time between purchase opportunities for certain customers, and auto insurance is a great example. You know that somebody's going to need this. Generally, they buy it once every 6 months. If you come in with an offer right after they've paid that last 6-month premium, there's no way they're going to become a customer at that particular point in time. No matter what kind of compelling offer you put in front of them, they just paid their bill, it's paid in full, it's going to go for the next 5 or 6 months, you're not going to have that chance to get that customer. But at that point, if you find out their response to your campaign is, hey, we just bought, we're sorry, we're not interested, that doesn't mean that they're a lead that you should throw away and not follow up. That customer is probably going to be in the market again. It might be 5 months or 6 months from now. It could be a year from now. But we know that there's this cyclical purchase for this type of product. Every 6 months, they're going to be in the market for a very narrow window of time. The nurturing campaigns that we want to set up are not going to be hard sell every month because that will turn those customers off, but it might be informative, ways to save money on driving, ways to save money on owning a home, whatever the particular cyclical purchase is. Stay in front of that customer with a drip marketing campaign, information, useful information, information that will be helpful and not sales-oriented until they show by engagement with a particular campaign that they might be interested in that product again. If you send them informational messages and they click on the links to say, hey, find me more information about lawn care, find me more information about how to save money driving a car, that's an interesting moment. But if they go back and click on get me a quote, now all of a sudden we know they've gone from being interested in a potential customer to being very interested and in the market right now. And we can shift our messages from being informational in nature, trying to stay friendly and stay in front of that customer, to ones where we actually have a tailored, targeted offer for that particular individual based on the behavior that they've demonstrated by engaging with our campaigns.
Great. So we talked a bit about what marketing automation is, why we need it, and how some of it may work in some use cases. But for this to be really successful, we need to make sure that our automation system and what we're doing in email is tightly synced with our commerce platform, with Magento. So remember, whatever we're doing in email has to mirror what we're doing online. We need to apply the same demographic segmentation. We need to have the same promotional strategies. We need to have the same messages. So if we're educating and nurturing in email, we need to be doing that on our website as well. If we're driving transactional promotions, those same promotions need to mirror each other in email and online. So to do that, we need to have our automation systems very tightly integrated with our Magento stores. And so when we do that, we need to think about integrating 4 types of things. Website traffic, so this is all the behaviors that customers are taking on our website. We need to be able to get that information into our automation system so the automation system can trigger those emails based on activity or inactivity, can add it to the profiling for scoring, and make use of the information. We need to get order data into the automation system so that we know what customers have purchased. We can use that for personalization in the emails, like the Pro Flowers example. We can use that for segmentation, critical data. We need to get the account data. This is our customer demographic data. We need to make sure that that's in our automation system as well. And we need to make sure that our segments are similar between Magento and our automation system. So whatever segmentation we're building in Magento needs to be mirrored in our automation system. So there are a few ways to integrate Magento with a marketing automation system. So the 2 general ways of doing it is you can go the extension route, or you can go what we call the data broker route. So the extension route is one that you're probably familiar with other types of third-party services. There are a number of extensions that connect automation platforms to Magento. So this is an example of an extension built by a Magento partner called Imagine. And they built an extension that connects HubSpot to Magento. And again, I'm not recommending HubSpot. I'm not recommending this extension. I've never worked with it. But it's an option worth exploring if HubSpot is something that you want to go through. There's another solution partner here, Groove Commerce. They also have a HubSpot to Magento connection or extension that's worth exploring. I believe there is an extension for Marketo as well, made by a company called, I think it's called Hoosh or Hosh. That's on Magento's Connect Marketplace. You should check that out as well. The second option is what we call data brokers. So the way data brokers work is they prevent the sort of complexity of trying to connect systems directly through API. So rather than taking an Eloqua and trying to connect it to Magento with the Eloqua APIs and the Magento APIs, each system just connects with their APIs to a data broker. And these are 2 examples. There are others. But Kevi and Jitterbit are 2 companies that have already pre-built their extensions or their connectors into Magento and these marketing automation platforms. And so these act as sort of like the translators. They accept data from the marketing automation systems, and they push them into Magento and vice versa. So it's a sort of a quick plug-and-play way of exchanging data between your Magento store and these automation platforms.
And I think in terms of wrapping up, in getting started with marketing automation, it's obviously a concept that in the e-commerce space, we're probably at the top of the first inning. This is not widely adopted, it's not widely used yet, but there's some great ways for you to get started in that process of coming up to speed and starting to use. And the first one is build those maps of your customers' buying journeys. Map that process out, map where you engage with them today, what those engagements take place. And you should have this in general, but certainly if you haven't extended in that pre-purchase, that extended portion of the buyer's journey, that 40 to 70% before they engage with you, start to really understand what customers go through when they're considering purchases of products of your company's types and engage with you all the way through that product sale. The second step is to make sure that you are building a methodology or a way to cleanse your data, keep that data clean. As you start to ramp up your engagement with customers in terms of email marketing and other online forms of interaction, you want to make sure your data is good, you're cleaning out information that no longer is applicable, you're adding and appending to it as appropriate, but keeping clean data is very important in any marketing automation implementation. The third step is start collecting that data. So if you don't have a newsletter sign up or a way to collect somebody's email address for offers today, you're certainly going to want to have calls to action that gather that information. It could be providing information to a customer in advance. It could be just signing up for specials or sales. Danny pointed that out at the start. And the last step is start to research the marketplace, work with your partners, implementation partners. If you're in marketing, work with your IT group. If you're into IT, work with your marketers, work with Magento. Start to understand how these pieces start to fit together. As I said, we're at the early stages of this, but the power that the capabilities of marketing automation bring to the table are going to create those opportunities for the first movers to create significantly better engagement with customers, and that's going to result in significantly higher sales.